covering the spirit, I'm busting through the ceiling. I'm following your lead, I'm following the spirit.
Hey guys, welcome back to Untitled Chapter. It's Kev here. So this is going to be the little follow-up video from the chapter I read out of this book regarding Saint Helena / Saint Helen, or Ellen, like E-L-E-N, as it's pronounced in Wales. Now, as you can see on the screen right now, we've got a lot of images of, well, we've got Mount Saint Helens, and we've got Saint Helen herself in various images. And this is really going to be, it's just going to be a quick overall, and how do I put it? It's going to be a quick breakdown of some of the information that was in that previous video on Saint Helen. So, first of all, I'd like to bring people's attention to this website. It is called archive.org. Now, this has a lot of material in. Unfortunately, it didn't have a lot on Saint Helen, but this is a website that is used a lot by researchers who are looking for older texts. Prince Andrew there, get him off my screen. Here we have, this is obviously Britain, and if you follow the mouse cursor, this is the border of Wales really, Shrewsbury, Hereford, down to the start of this river by Gloucester, around this way. Now, there's a lot of talk of Saint Helen obviously coming to Great Britain after she'd done a pilgrimage, after Constantine had took his position on the throne of the Roman Empire. And yes, she came to Great Britain. Now, allegedly, as a wedding gift, Maximus gave her lands in the north area of Wales, and if we zoom in, we'll start to see there was places like Carnarvon. Now, there's another place with a similar name called Carmarthen, and there was one or two other forts, if you will, in the area that was handed over to her as a wedding gift. Also, I'd like to point out just quickly while we're here, obviously a lot of people think this is some kind of person, you know, you've got a head with like an armoured helmet on, with some people have said this is like the snake, like the serpents on the head of the pharaohs and things like that. And it's interesting the way it's actually called Holy Head. And as we're going to come on to in a couple of moments, we're going to see that words actually are important, you know, and a lot of place names have their names for good reason. So we're going to move on through. So I've done a quick Google search because obviously some of the information in that chapter was regarding Constantine had started a building of churches. Excuse me, he wanted to build as many churches as he could once he became Christianized. And it was also stated in there that he was never really a pious man when it came to Christianity, never truly believed in the doctrine, maybe, or at least the perception that he gave out was of that ilk. Where Saint Helen, she was apparently, you know, really dedicated and devoted to Christianity, to helping people, to charity, you know, and all this kind of stuff. It's believed that when she went on a pilgrimage over to the Middle East, this is some of the stuff that wasn't talked about in this chapter. She helped a lot of people. She handed out clothes, money, and all this kind of stuff while she was on the pilgrimage in the Middle East. Followed in the footsteps of Jesus. I've heard some people say, I don't know when I quoted that, which is fascinating, it's riveting, really. But when she came over to other places back into the empire, she was well known for charitable work there as well. Indeed, entire settlements, she'd give supplies, finances, aid, you know, all that stuff from the empire. As when Constantine took over as Emperor of Rome, I believe Helena became she came like the head of the treasury of the Roman Empire. So she was able to, you know, manage the finances and redistribute them to poorer people as and when she saw fit. But one of the other fascinating things was, obviously I'm from here, this lovely little town called Liverpool, which if you look at some of the older maps, as you can see here, we have the different kingdoms scattered around in Britain. Now, obviously it's conjecture. Whatever map you look at is that individual's interpretation of historical texts and things like that, and he's rendered his own map off the back of that, where like this shows like the kingdom of the Franks, and Britain as a tiny little place like North Wales, Northwest England, Wales and Northwest England, which Liverpool is part of that, as you see on the map there. But what's interesting about this map is that see this little outcrop here, I'm pretty sure that's Brittany. Now that depending on timelines, that's basically still part of Britain. Like apparently they still speak a relative language to Cumbrian, the language of the Welsh, and the ancient Welsh or ancient Britons. Which another interesting topic on that is apparently the Picts, who were allegedly of Scythian origin, who landed in the Orkneys, crossed over to Scotland, and then started to settle there until they had a conflict with the actual Scots at the time, which, as you can see here, Kingdom of the Scotti, and obviously the Scottish beat the Picts and gave them a certain plot of land to settle down in that was quite barren, which, from what I've read and stuff like that, apparently the Picts worked miracles there and were able to grow in numbers and all that kind of stuff. But they were done as a force pretty much there. So it's great that the language survived in Wales, and we're able to use that language now to translate into other things. You know, obviously Wilson and Blackett have mentioned, you know, the translation of the Etruscan material, Turkic material over in Western Turkey, Phrygia and places like that. But yeah, just wanted to show you that real quick. Sorry. So, oh, that's the wrong map. So I typed into Google St. Helens, well, St. Helen's Church, and what was interesting to me is you've got all these churches in the northwest of England, pretty much. Now, you've got some in the Midlands, as you can see, run down the spine of England itself. But the concentration of churches in the northwest was, well, it's evident, isn't it? You can see it with your own eyes. And one of the things that's intrigued me the most about this is the fact that there's an area in the northwest of England called St. Helens. If my computer wants to speed up a little bit. So here we go, this is St. Helens. Now, unfortunately, so yeah, I was discussing the area, saying words have meanings and things like this. Well, this actual area is called St. Helens, which is, like I say, in the northwest of England, and we have quite a few churches called St. Helens. So we shoot over here, we have the St. Helens Church, and it's so close to the coastline, to the River Mersey, and of course into North Wales. Now, that video I took on the beach, that was just over here by Crosby, so it's not too far away. So I will be looking on heading back to this church now, heading back to that area to visit this church. So let's see if there's any images for this. Well, there isn't, but that's okay. So we come back across and we go and look at St. Helen's Well. Now, I don't expect it to be much imagery on here, but we'll go for the Google. So here is St. Helen's Well. This is a website giving us some further detail on the discovery and things like that, and a little bit of the history. So there's an old map here from, I believe it was around 1850, something like that. As you can see, St. Helen's Church, Sefton Rector, Sefton Brewery. It doesn't actually say the well on there. Well, let's go back. So the archaeology and history. The well is now sadly capped off with an inscribed stone, as we can see in the image. The well originally stood inside a rather nice little well house with a pyramid-shaped overlapping roof, with railings running around it. It was renowned for its icy waters, which were especially good for people suffering from rheumatism, sprains, bruising, and also nervous problems. It had a band pump at the side of the well house to enable people to drink the water, but all this has now gone, though the church congregation still visits the site on the Saint's feast day, which is the day of the Holy Saint, Saint Helen, and are still hoping that someday the well will be restored again. It was probably a pre-Christian spring that in the Middle Ages turned into a pilgrimage site, especially so in the 14th century when the church was built close by. So that's the archaeological stuff, and the official narrative is the folklore, which is probably a bit closer to the truth. In pre-Reformation times it was much more in use, but later on, and in more recent times it had become a wishing well. Pins were thrown into the well by young folk. Apparently, if the pin could be seen at the bottom of the well, or a favourable outcome was likely with regard to good luck in forthcoming marriage by a couple much in love. There's not much folklore there, is there? Throwing pins down a well. So here's an excerpt from someone's book, and to be honest it's quite long, but let's give it a go. This celebrated spring rises at a distance of 300 yards in a westerly direction from Sefton Church. In the year 1891 the well was well walled round and a handsome canopy placed over it. For the designs, Mr. John Douglas, at the cost of William Philip IV, Earl of Sefton. The traditions connected with the Holy Well are thus graphically summed up in the history of Sefton. Goes on. We must not omit to mention St. Helen's Well, which springs near the first cottage in Thornton Road, beyond the inn. Formerly a pad road, only led from the well to the church, the Thornton Road passing through the rectory grounds. In the churchwarden's account we find several items of expenditure incurred for keeping in order of St. Helen's Well. Thus we read in 1758, for the new dish and change for St. Helen's Well. Ashcroft, writing about the year 1819, tells us that this well was once in a great repute for curing rheumatism, strains, bruises, and the weakness of nerves. It had no mineral quality, however. He remarks that its principal virtue seems to have been its coldness. In different times, great respect was paid to wells eminent for curing distempers upon the saint's day, whose names well bore, and it was once the custom to decorate the holy wells. Blah blah blah. To be honest, I'm going to leave it there. This is not really great. If we get the images back up. Now, let's look for some of the older images before the excavation. Obviously, you can see here on the right, the stairs going down. That would have led to the well. And the more recent imagery is stuff like this. Now, like I say, it's not too far from me, this well, so I wouldn't mind going to see it, but it doesn't look like there's much there to go and visit. As you can see, there's the cap over the well, and yeah, it's pretty much closed off now. So as Dave mentioned there, they would like to reopen it at some point, so hopefully that happens. But we keep moving. So St. Helen, she talked about obviously the cross. Now, when she found 3 crosses believed to be on the Hill of Calvary, I believe that was in that book. Now, of the 3 crosses, two obviously belong to thieves who were crucified either side of Jesus, and obviously Jesus, with being who he was, when his cross, they brought a leper along. She touched all the different crosses. There's various accounts, but this is the one in the book. And when this person touched the cross of Jesus, all the leprosy vanished instantly. Now, like I say, Helen, she left some of the cross in Jerusalem, I believe with like some kind of bishop or cardinal or something like that, and then took the rest of the cross with her. She placed parts of it in the bridle of Constantine, and I believe that she placed some in like his armour or something like that. I know there was two places she put some of the cross. But then allegedly she, after the whole pilgrimage and after all a journeying around had come to pass, apparently she settled in Britain and came to the UK. So when we see places like on the map, if I can just go back, as you can see, there's a lot of churches with the name of Saint Helen. So what happened was when she came back, apparently she broke fragments of the cross up anyway and sent it to various churches around the whole empire, really, as a token, as good fortune, good luck, healing powers, all the things that relics were used for. In my mind always goes to like medieval times. You always think of like carrying crosses into battles, or they used to carry dead saints and take them out the coffin, remove fingers, things like that, and carry them into battle and hope to win the battle. Well, Saint Helena did something similar. She sent the cross round here, there, and everywhere. Now, one of the most fascinating ones is in Pembrokeshire in Britain. She allegedly placed a large piece of the cross. This is according to Alan Wilson and Barnum Blackett, by the way. Apparently she stuck a large piece of the cross in a silver box, and I believe what was the word used was a relictorium or a relic box or something like that, a silver box that was mentioned in that previous book. And apparently they actually did surveys on the area where they believed this box and cross to be. Reliquary was the word, I can't remember. And when they done the surveys behind, there's actually meant to be some kind of container, a ferrous metal box behind the wall. Now, what's also crazy about that is I went to Cyprus several years ago, and Cyprus, by the way, is littered with like history and antiquity. It's just everywhere you look, like you pick up a stone, it was probably picked up and used, I don't know, in a sling or something thousands of years ago. But I actually come across Lazarus's bones, and let's see if I can get a quick picture. Here we go. This is the box that I'd seen. What is, I guess, in a reliquary or whatever the right word was. Now, it got mentioned, as I say, in that book, that Helen left a large piece of the cross in Jerusalem in a box, silver box, that I'm guessing was similar to this. And like I say, there's apparently one in Pembrokeshire in Wales, which I'm going to try and show you a video of now, which isn't very good quality, but I wasn't able to find much material really on this, so bear with me. And like I say, the quality is not really very good, but it's just more so you can see the land around before I show you the still image. Apologies for the music if you can hear it, by the way, as well. Taz is just watching some animals on TV. So there's the wall there, and as if you can see the cross in the centre. say the area to which the individual has made this video is so there we go, that was just that quick little video. Sorry about the pixelation, it was 240p and it was the only video I could find on YouTube. Now let's take a look at some of the stills. So the area to which that person was, who recorded that, it was actually an ancient footpath, because this was a well-known pilgrimage site going back millennia. Now, some of the images aren't great really, are they? There's not a lot of them. Let's take that photograph there. That's the same one. So basically, as you can see, if I blow up this image for us, there's the cross, as you can clearly see. Now, if you see the stone, it's all like slate. Now, apparently it was designed so that you couldn't really remove. If you started removing stuff from the bottom, the whole thing would fall, etc. But this is allegedly the area to which the holy remnants of the Holy Cross reside, according to Wilson and Blackett. Like Helen, she sent pieces of the true cross to all different locations, and there was a bit of a joke that if you took all the pieces of the alleged true cross, that you could build a ship, when in actual fact the actual pieces that are known to exist, that are possibly more than likely pieces of the true cross, the right wood, the right carbon dating, things like that, you probably wouldn't even have enough pieces to make the true cross. So there is large pieces of the cross that are still missing. So could it be hidden in behind that wall, that stone wall on that pilgrimage route of St Helen in Wales, in Pembrokeshire? Potentially. But here we have some pieces of the actual cross that did get sent out to different places. So this one is in the Vatican Relics, the Catholic Church version of celebrities. What's going on there? Many churches claim to hold pieces of the true cross of Jesus, and in August, archaeologists believed they found a piece of Jesus' cross in Turkey, which, as we know, was also the birthplace of Helen, hence why they renamed the birthplace, well, Constantine did, Heliopolis. In Turkey, legend has it that Saint Helen, the mother of Emperor Constantine, helped find and distribute the true cross centuries after the crucifixion. Today's churches, including the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, claim to have fragments of the true cross. So we've got a paper trail here. So here's the piece that was allegedly found in the Vatican City. And just before I leave this site, do you want to see something fascinating? You try and skip to the next image, and it says you can't see it. So if I go back, it actually shows you. So ABC News is playing some kind of funky work here. I'm not too sure what this is. The Gospel of John recalls how soldiers plaited a crown of thorns, put it on Jesus' head, and mocked him as the King of the Jews during his crucifixion. Which also Helen, actually, when she found the three crosses, apparently one of the crosses had a piece with it saying, piece of wood saying King of the Jews. During his crucifixion today, Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris is home to what is believed to be relics of the very crown. The thorns are held together by gold threads, bundled and braided, circled 21 centimeters in diameter. That's interesting. We might go there on another day, but let's keep going. Here's a quick little look on this website showing you the relics that can be found at Notre Dame. So here we have the fragment of the cross. Let me slide along above, another piece of the true cross. there anything else in here? We have the crown of thorns relic and a right leg bone relic, and various body relics. Like I say, back in the medieval times, obviously they used to carry body parts and things of the saints into combat and hope that, you know, they're going to have the Lord's protection and things like that. So here we have another piece of the true cross, a relic of the true cross in the 14th century reliquary, that was the word we were looking for before, which of the following statement has you nodding in agreement? Names of the saints whose relics are kept here at battle. First from the wood of the cross of the Lord, the true cross, which is the Holy of Holies. It is believed, by the way, that the cross of the crucifixion is the most holiest of relics in Christendom. Or there is no monastery so poor that it does not have a specimen, which touches into that. You could build a ship. If we were to collect these pieces of the true, you could build a whole ship. Yeah, we've been through that. So there's another piece claimed to be of the true cross. Right, so there we have it, guys. Like I say, it was only going to be a quick follow-up, really, just to go over some of the stuff that was in that previous video I made on Saint Helena. Saint Helena, Saint Helen, Saint Helens, Saint Eleanor. You know, she went by many names. The one that really gets you is this one, because as people have said, there is fragments. There's a large piece of the cross that is still yet to be found, and if you go and follow the work of, where is he? This legend here, well, these two legends, they go into further detail on like the relics and the true cross, the geo survey, the penetrating radar stuff that they did on the rock to find the nefarious metal and things like that. And yeah, it's one of them, you know, people pilgrimaged along that route for many years, and it is believed that, like I say, some people believe that Helen was British, while others believe that she just became British. Obviously she was born elsewhere, or settled and possibly died in Britain. So the fact that she did come, she did build a lot of churches. There's a lot of places with a St Helens church in and around the northwest of England, which, if you believe in the old British folklore, apparently the north of Wales, which, if I can find that photograph again. So this area, the north of, well, it's old Britain, it's what was left of Britain really there, but this area here was apparently the spiritual centre of those peoples of that time, and apparently they were Christian. You know, if you go and look at like the Arthur stories and all this other stuff, there seems to be some very high spirituality connected to it, you know, to Christendom itself. So who knows, maybe the relic is behind that wall. Maybe at some point in the future we will get to go in there and have a look. Like I say, there was the well of St Helens as well. So there's a lot of stuff on the ground relating to this legend and this lore of St Helen and her journey across to the Middle East and becoming a Christian and becoming a great advocate for Christianity, really. So yeah, I just wanted to go a little bit more in depth, but obviously there's not too much information you can talk about without branching out into theory and all this kind of stuff. So I mean, it's probably all conjecture anyway. You believe what you want to believe, you know. So, but yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed this one. Please take care, stay safe, peace.